What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. As promised, this video was going to be less boring, but there was a couple other goals that I realized along the way I'm going to try to achieve with this video is better audio, better color balance, and actually using machines, and I've achieved all that with this video, as you'll see. So this video is going to deal with step one in turning cork for me, and it may not be the way you turn cork. You may have never turned cork and think this is a little bit excessive, and I'll agree, some of it is to a point, and I'll explain later why I'm doing what I'm doing. And then once we complete phase 2 of this video, or part 2 of this video, you'll see why I did what I did, and hopefully it makes more sense. So let's just go straight into it. I'm trying not to talk anybody to death, so let's go. Alright, so here's my setup for running cork. This is a 7x, I think this one's 7x14. It's just a little lathe. Everybody has one. It's Harbor Freight has one, Grizzly, Jet, you name it. Everybody makes one of these, and they're all the same. So the support out there for them is great. It's good for small stuff, but it's not the most accurate. But what I'm doing here, it's plenty good. You'll see there's a quick change installed. This is a OXA, so it's tiny, and then there's just a tool rest installed. You can find these tool rests through almost anyone. They're pretty cool. They're pretty nice to have, especially with a lathe of this size. It can become pretty useful. Tailstock is chucked in. You can see here I'm running an ER32 collet head, which is really convenient because I can just flip these out and I have them in 30 seconds. And then the main reason why I like this lathe for doing stuff like this is it's not a gearhead lathe. So it has a high-low range, and then it's just on a potentiometer. So I can adjust speeds on it all the way up, all the way down. And the other reason is this lathe is always ran dry. There's no oil on it, so it makes it really easy to clean up. I'm not worried about gumming anything up. The medium-sized lathe sitting across the way, it has coolant pumps and it has whey oil all over it, and that's just going to be a complete pain in the ass to clean up. So I'm going to set you up. I'm going to show you step one, which is just turning this down into a cylinder, and that's getting all this glue off, all the squeeze out glue. Get that off, get it roughly smoothed out, and that's pretty much it for step one. So step one, I'm just knocking off all the glue lines. So I'm going to start at this end. Once I see all the glue lines come off, especially like this one, then I'll just come in and I'll file work it until it's flat. And that's it for my first step. So in the forward, in the high range, and I'll start with it slow. You could already see it's not perfectly round. So you can see all the glue's busted off that was out and hanging around on the outside. So now I'm going to come back through and I'm going to... So before I got rudely interrupted, this is all I'm doing with a gouge. Now I'm going to come in with just pretty basic file. And I'm going to clean this up just to the point that everything is in level. So again, it'll get loud, so I'll turn the audio down, and then I'll see you in, I don't know, real time, 2 minutes. Speed up time, 30 seconds. So now it's into initial round. There's one last step here, and I'm going to cut off the front and the back edge. What I used for that, I didn't show you, that was a hobby knife. So I'm going to just nick off these two edges. I'm going to get a rough measure. So I got to grab a tape measure from the other side of the garage. And I also got to grab the hobby knife. So give me a minute.
12 seconds later.
So this is just a pretty basic hobby knife. I mean, you can get this at like Hobby Lobby or somewhere like that, or the always famous Amazon. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take it right down through this edge, and then I'll move back and I'll take down this edge. This mandrel is $3.60 and this hobby knife is cheap as hell. So I'm not worried about doing any damage to the mandrel or anything else, and cork is super easy to cut. If I wanted to, I could probably use a plastic disposable knife like you would use at a picnic. So take it up to a decent speed. Take it to the back. Ooh, is that long? And now I'm just going to run this file right down these edges, square them up, and that's that. So these edges are now squared off, and that's the primary reason why I like doing this way. I can square everything up really clean. Handle is still plenty long for me, and I am right at 5 7/8. That's pretty much going to be my finished length. The only thing I'm going to do is actually one step extra is I'm going to kick this out of the way, And I'm going to throw a quick sand on it because I want to know what's going to be my front and what's going to be my back. Release you. Just go with 120. Alright, I'm going to pick you up, flip you around. I'm going to show you where this is at real quick. Alright, so this is what I ended up with, and literally it's just a Cork cylinder. I mean, that's all that it really is. And I'm sure the question's being asked, why don't I glue this down straight away, or why don't I just glue up rough rings and turn everything in one shot? It's a valid question, and if you're doing 100 rods as a mop job builder, have at it. The purpose of this is I can be a lot more accurate, and this allows me to tree the front and rear edge. I rough set my length, and everything is good to go there. And probably the other question is, why am I using a square cut chisel? I mean, it's not the greatest thing in the world. All I'm using it for is to bust glue off. Lastly, well, next to last, but this is probably the most important. Never use a file with equipment that doesn't have a handle on it of some sort, something as a safety move. Don't use a file that looks like this. And the reason being, if for some reason you would get kickback, and I'm not saying you're going to get it with Cork, if it's going to kick back and you're holding it in the typical fashion that I would, it's coming right into your hand. And that's probably the cheapest and most painful way to have carpal tunnel surgery. So files like this are fine if you're just doing handwork. But if you're using it with machinery, please have a handle of some sort on it, because it can be dangerous as hell. Lastly, you probably saw it at some point in time in a video. There was this green tape on there. This green tape, I had already broken this free from the mandrel, and I just wanted a little bit of tension to hold it on there. So I throw 2 to 3 laps of this green tape on, and then I could squeeze it down over. And the thing is kind of neat about doing it this way is it almost acts like a slipper clutch, and you probably saw it in a video where you could see the cork kind of slipping against because I was giving it too much pressure. And that tells me to back off. I'm not getting as much tear out. So it's kind of a cheap way of making a slipper. And yeah, it works. But for now, guys, thanks once again. And I'll repeat it again. I hope I can get to a point where I don't have to repeat this. If you like what you're watching, please like. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing to it. And if you have any questions on what you've seen or how I can improve on the channel, drop a comment below. I'll try to get back to everyone. I got a busy couple weeks coming up again. But thank you.